Hello, I'm Donal Macaulay and welcome to this BMJ Leader Conversation. Today I'm talking to Göran Henriks in Sweden. Now, Göran, you're one of the leaders in the whole healthcare and quality movement. But let me bring you back to your childhood. Were you a leader as a child?
It depends on when you start to think about childhood. I am not aware of my leadership skills before I was 10, but after I became 10, I think I had a couple of moments of leadership too.
Because we're always interested in this concept of whether leaders are born or made. Does that give us a hint as to what your thoughts are?
Well, I think that it's a combination, and I think there are different kind of leadership too. Some leadership comes when you are demanded to be in the front, but other kind of leadership are coming from within, when you see that a group needs support and you try to achieve some results with that group, but maybe not take the leadership position.
So let's move on from this age 10 to your school and college. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, well, it was childhood with a lot of sports, and in sports, and especially team sports, even though I also did some individual competition in tennis and table tennis. It started early with basketball, and in basketball you are 5 players on the court and 5 on the bench, and you are very narrow to the game. It's not like in football where you, when you are on the bench, you nearly sit in the sofa. Here you are very close to every executing moment, and leadership, both as a player and a teammate, and of course, soon later when I became a coach, became a very crucial skill for me. And based on those experiences, I continued to practice leadership. I studied psychology, and I have a child psychologist background, and then I was a national coach in basketball, and I also have been studying finance and have had leadership positions as a CEO of things, and that together I think gives different kind of spectra of where leadership is a natural part.
Well, let's go through those 3 components and we'll start off with the psychology. What brought you to psychology?
I think that my drive was to learn how we act in different execution situations, and to deeper understand what kind of support mentally we needed to become stronger in different execution situations.
And then moving on to coaching. So coaching at a very high level in international sport. Tell us about the lessons from coaching sport.
Well, there are so many lessons. So for me, it becomes maybe hard to say the most fruitful for the listener. But I think that when you are in a team, it's very important to understand that you shouldn't search for only how you contribute to the team's results. You should also be a team player and do what the teammates wants you to do. And to develop that understanding in the coaching role, I think is very crucial. And it's also transferable to the daily work life, where we are quite often very much focused on our own doing, but maybe not enough on how we can help others to make a good job.
Are those skills transferable to senior management posts?
Absolutely. And I think that the secret of senior management is to balance your own need of being transparent and take positions and have your feet in the sand and believe in what you're doing, with a deep understanding that the results do not come from what you do. It comes from how the colleagues value you as a leader.
And the third component was this business component. So after you'd done psychology, you took a little turn in the road and you did an MBA. Tell us about that.
Well, I think that in healthcare, for example, we run quite often after being fast and execute and put things to start. And we also try to reduce the use of technical resources or people as resources. But the secret of performance in healthcare is to do right from the beginning and value the outcome of the clinical processes. And if you reduce variation and always do best possible from the beginning, then you also get good finances. And I think we sometimes get blind for that knowledge, because the pressure of time and speed are so high.
So equipped with all these qualifications, expertise and experience, you set off in your career. Tell us about your career.
I has been Chief Executive of Learning and Innovation for 28 years in the same system, and I have worked 44 years in the same system. And you could, of course, say that you must be stupid. Why haven't you changed to another place? Well, in sports, you learn very early that the secret to reach results is not to meet with someone who is best in the world. It's much better to compete to teams that are close to your own performance, but a little better. So over the years, I flipped the logic and said to both myself and my system that instead of us traveling, trying to find people that are next to us, why don't we develop a logic where people come to us and we give them what we have? And by having our employees showing what they are doing, we know that every time they do that, they take another step of understanding of their own doing. Because when you talk about your own doing, you also try to do it in as concrete and as clear as possible, and that develops your own learning when you do that.
So you talk about developing your own learning, so perhaps that's a hint in the answer to my next question is, having spent so long in the one institution, how do you keep fresh and how do you keep bringing new ideas?
Well, I think the secret is, of course, the system thinking that my organization is just a part of a bigger system, and we depend on so many stakeholders and networks and we are not the most clever people, so we have to be curious to see how the context around us moves. And by being curious and also collaborate with our stakeholders and of course with other healthcare systems, we get more and more ideas that we could then digest into our own work. And that has been, I think, the whole idea that by harvesting others doing, we can also improve ourselves.
Now, I'm interested in that you talk about this internalization or bringing people in. And that would suggest that your work has all been focused in your own institution, but that's not true because you have a huge international profile and you've worked with IHI. Tell us about your work with IHI.
Already in '96, I was at the first national forum that they arranged in the US, and I was astonished over the enthusiasm of reducing the gap between how things are and how things could be. And of course, the people that were in leadership positions then, as Don Berwick, Maureen Bisigliano, Tom Nolan, they enthusiased my thinking a lot. And I also saw that this improvement science they talked about were very close to the sport approach. You have to improve your skills in small steps every day. And that is what the improvement science talks about. It's not possible to take big steps over a dive. You can only take small steps. Otherwise, you fall into the dive. And it's the same thing in sports and in this knowledge platform. And we, together with my colleague Mats Bojestig, we got so thrilled about this that we asked our CEO to come with us the year after. And he was a big statistician, and he realized that if we become successful in 30 to 40% of all our improvement efforts, that was the cheapest way to develop a new performance level of the system. If we don't try at all with no changes, then we will not achieve anything. And there are so many change ambitions in the structures that we see do not really change the quality. So we started to understand on a deeper level that if improvement efforts are successful to 30-40%, that's maybe the best score you could achieve in our business.
Now, you've brought this message from beyond IHI to the International Forum, and that's spread all over the world. Tell us about the International Quality Forum.
Well, in collaboration between BMJ and IHI, I have been sharing the conference designs over the last 20-25 years. And I think that this has been very crucial for at least Sweden and the Scandinavian countries, because we have seen that by implementing the science of improvement, we have also it has also been possible for us to show that there are alternatives to hospital care, to give the patient a bigger position or a deeper position of its own care. And I think that it's a very optimistic approach that we do it together. And the international conferences are a symbol of doing things together, because to them comes between 2,000 and 3,000 people every year, and they are there because they know that they will find friends that are in the same questions. And that's maybe another big benefit of this conference, is that you realize that your problem is not unique. You are in a community of a development of the global care where the same problem seems to be everywhere. Today, everybody talks about competence, lack of competencies, IT struggles, AI challenges. So why should we sit and find the solutions ourselves instead of creating meeting places where we try to do it together?
So we've talked about the abstract, and we've talked about the management and the international component. But finally, let me bring you back to the individual. Tell us about Esther.
Well, that's another secret of improvement science, that people do not learn from abstract things, at least not in healthcare. They learn from strong narratives. And that was one of our successes, that we early on understood that it's not acceptable to be an elderly person in our system that suffer from bad access, overcrowded emergency rooms, and lack of daily support. So we understood that people that were over 80 needed a different kind of system. And we went Esther's, and that is an old woman, her journey from a day where she had swollen legs and a bad headache, and she called her mother, her sister, her daughter, and the daughter comes home to her, and they find that they need to call the district nurse, and the nurse comes home and she finds Esther in a bad condition. They call for an ambulance. They go to the care center, overcrowded, no doctor to see Esther. During the lunch break, a doctor sees Esther, and after some lab tests, they realize she has to go to an ambulance to a hospital. And when she comes to that hospital, it's totally overcrowded. And at 8:30 in the evening, the young doctor with no experience comes up to Esther and says, Esther, you have to stay overnight. And she comes up to the ward, and she hasn't eaten for the whole day. And she gets 2 white bread with cheese and a glass of milk, and that was her full day meal. And when we realized that this story was not unique, it was like this, we treated our elderly people. We wrote a narrative about Esther, and has kept that as our key change thinking tool. So today we have more than 75 people engaged in a living library of experienced people of care, and that's patients then. So when we do improvement work today, we invite the person from this living library to join the improvement processes. And that gives us a strength to always have the focus on why we are here.
Goran, that's a lovely note to end on. Why are we here? And that's what the focus of healthcare. It's been such a pleasure and a privilege to chat to you. From the very first time I heard you speak at the International Quality Forum, I've always been inspired. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.